This is a precautionary tale. I understand that this was my fault, but maybe if I can help one person by telling my story, it's worth it. I don't drink as a general rule, but once a month or so I'll go out with friends and binge. My friends and I had a great night at the bar in the city, and they left. I was chatting up a cute guy, so I decided to stay. I went back to his place. Later, when I was ready to head home, I called an Uber to pick me up. I didn't know where I was. I knew the city well, but not my exact location. I ordered the Uber, but it was taking forever. So I canceled it and tried again. Pretty soon, a car pulled up. I drunkenly mumbled something like, "Is this the Uber?" And I hopped in. Mistake. Ubers apparently are supposed to have some kind of marking on the vehicle. The guy pulled away and started driving. We were chatting. I was fumbling for a cigarette, and the next thing I noticed was that we were headed on the highway, but in the opposite direction of where I thought we needed to drive. And we were going at a solid 90 miles per hour. Then I got a call from my Uber driver. He was there, and I was not, because I was in a car with a nutcase. I started texting my friend frantically, counting off mile markers for her. Then I realized that's going to do jack, because she was probably drunk too. So I called 911, but I realized this guy was crazy. He was refusing to let me out of the car, so I had got to do it on the sly. It had been 40 minutes now. I was terrified. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who this was. We were driving at over 100 miles per hour, weaving in and out of traffic. This guy was trying to get me to hang up my phone call. He shouted, "Yo, get off the phone! Who the F are you calling? Better not be a snitch." And also started smoking pot. So I didn't want to do anything that might provoke a violent reaction from him. I start chatting to the 911 dispatcher as if it was my friend, praying that they'd catch on. "Hey girl, it's me. Yeah, I'm with someone right now. We're driving past highway exit 13. "No, sweetie, it's not my Uber. I thought it was, but it's not. It's a shame you can't come and meet me and bring friends." Thanks, sweet baby Jesus, the operator caught on. He got me to stay on the phone while he sends cops, and we developed a code. If I see cops, I was supposed to casually put my hand out the window, which looks semi-normal because I was smoking a cigarette. We pulled into some random little housing complex, and he got out some powder and formed 2 lines. I now had confirmation that he does drugs, which meant he was probably emotionally volatile. I relayed this to the operator, in code. "Oh girl, I wish you were here right now. This guy just busted out the coke. You'd love it. He's taking a really big bump. Man after my own heart." Pretty soon, I saw the lights from the cop cars, so I start waving my hand out the window. At this point, I didn't care if he was on to me or not. I didn't know if he had a weapon, but I slumped down in my seat just in case things got hot. The cops surrounded us, got him out of the car, and then, once it was safe, they extricated me as well. They whisked me to the hospital for a drug test and evaluation. On my way to the hospital, as I was explaining all this to the officer, I found out that of the guy's 50-ish years on this earth, he had been in federal prison for 30 of them, for violent offenses. I had a scary ride from an Uber driver a few years ago. For background, I live in a rich, predominantly white area of California. It was about 10 in the night during summertime, and I was using Uber because my mom, simply put, is lazy. I had been hanging out at a friend's house, but when the driver arrived to pick me up, I was alone on the street corner. Immediately when I got in the car, I noticed he was a young male, most likely in his mid to late 20s. I was a 15-year-old girl, and I could have even looked 12. In the beginning of the ride, nothing was very abnormal, but as it went on, and our conversation went on, he started asking me more creepy questions. And because I was a shy young girl, I had not yet learned how to stand up for myself or lie when asked personal questions. He asked me if where we were heading was my house, how old I was, where I went to school, and more. And I answered all of these truthfully because I was scared and really bad at lying. 15 minutes away from my destination, our conversation stopped, so he turned up the music. And after a half a minute of me singing along to the music, he quickly turned it down and said, "Did you just say you'd suck?" And I was like, "No, what the hell? I'm 15. I was just singing along to the song." And he just muttered something along the lines of, "Well, it sounded like you said that." After that, we stopped talking, but he later offered me a piece of gum, except it was unwrapped and weirdly shaped. After I declined the offer several times, and him not stepping down, I accepted it, pretended to put it in my mouth, and the awkward silence continued. This is the part that made my heart skip a beat. He noticed that I wasn't chewing, and kinda angrily pointed it out. So I saw that I had no other choice than to actually put the gum in my mouth. It was so long ago that I cannot recall if it had an odd taste, but I wish I could. Then, after this, he started diverting from the route quite often, and the app verbally telling him that he took the wrong turn and how to get back en route. He ignored it. After a minute or two, I spoke up, asking him why he was going this way, and he replied that he was just trying to find a faster route. This is when my sternness kicked in, and I firmly told him that the app is providing the best route and that I know it by heart. He started to get back en route again, and that is pretty much the end of it. It may not have been outwardly sketchy, but all the little things added up, and I knew I wasn't safe. When he dropped me off at home, he turned his entire body around to say goodbye with a smirk. I immediately told my mother what had happened, and we spent months trying to report it and get in contact with Uber, but they didn't have a phone number or email to contact at the time. And when we did finally reach an email of theirs, they did not seem to care at all. So, moral of the story, these apps don't care about their drivers being predators. And I should mention that I don't recall if I felt any odd effects from the gum, but I spit it out immediately after being dropped off. This happened about a year ago. There were so many terrible factors working against me that night. I'm astounded I got away unscathed, at least physically. This all began when I was at my friend's apartment, who lived in a really rough part of town. In a series of poor decisions that night, I decided to get belligerently drunk and took a few pills of God knows what. I know. Safe to say, after a solid night of partying, around 4 a.m., I was not in the right state of mind. My drug-addled brain decided that instead of staying the night at my friend's apartment like I normally would, I wanted to get an Uber back to my own apartment. My friend's apartment had 2 separate exits out of the building, one in the back, unlit parking lot of the building, and one facing the street. They had 2 sets of keys for each door, and I only had keys to the one in the back of the apartment. Since my Uber would obviously arrive at the street, and the door in the front of the building locks itself behind you, I exited this way when the driver was soon to arrive. Looking back, standing outside that apartment, I realized I looked like the easiest target on the planet. I'm a small, petite female in my early 20s, and I could hardly stay upright. I was using a street lamp to prop myself up, and wasn't doing a good job at that either. The light was basically a beacon to any nearby predator saying, "Come get me." I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings at all in this state, despite the fact that there was literally a bullet hole in the front door I just came out of. Not good. I remember checking to see what car I was getting picked up in, and was only able to pick out the fact that it was a black sedan. Soon after stepping outside, a black sedan pulled up to the curb and started rolling down the window, so I stepped forward. Before this man even spoke, I could feel something was wrong. He had an expression like he was tearing me apart with just his eyes. After seeing that look, it gave me a new meaning to the word predator to describe a criminal, because I then knew what it felt like to be a prey. He basically barked at me, "I'm your Uber driver." This was the second red flag that somehow made its way through my brain. Normally, Uber drivers just roll down the window and say, "Fossil Fuel 12?" or any version of that, but always including your name. I think I just stared at him for a second. My brain slowly pieced together the situation I was potentially in, and I asked him, "What's my name?" He was immediately enraged and started screaming about how he doesn't have time for this and just get in the car, etc., etc., etc. I don't think I've ever sobered up so fast in my life. I was completely panicking. Obviously, this wasn't my Uber. Quickly checking the license plate, I immediately saw it was not a match. Meanwhile, this guy was still screaming at me, and I had absolutely no idea what to do. If I bolted in either direction, this guy could have easily outrun me or have a weapon. I was also pretty sure at this point that if he was trying to nab a random girl on the street, he must have a weapon of some sort. I couldn't run back into the apartment door right behind me since it locked behind you, and I didn't have the keys nor the time to unlock it. Running towards the back door would have done nothing as well, as he was idling right by the mouth of the driveway towards the back parking lot, and again, I would have to take the time to find the right keys and get in. If I screamed, I wasn't exactly in the type of neighborhood where someone would try to be a vigilante, and I could still hear the music radiating from my friend's third-floor apartment. I knew they wouldn't hear me. Also, it was 4 a.m. and absolutely no one was around. People talk a lot about how they either sprint into action or freeze, but I felt incapable of doing either. It was the absolute worst feeling I've ever felt in my life. Everything in me wanted to run, but I felt that if I did, it would be the end of me. But if I kept standing there, staring in shock at this screaming man, the result would be the same. From when he started screaming at me to this point, I'm guessing only 20 seconds had passed by. Just as he was looking like he was getting ready to get out of the car, another black sedan pulled up right behind him. Checking the license plate as quickly as I can, I realized it was my actual Uber, and made a full sprint to the car and threw myself in, screaming at my real Uber driver, "What's my name?" The poor dude looked terrified, but responded with my name quickly, to which I replied, "Get me the hell out of here. That man is trying to kidnap me." If I was in this Uber driver's position, I think I would be too shocked to react as quickly as he did. But my dude flew out of there, offered to call the cops for me, which I declined and now regret, and then walked me to the front door of my apartment, ensuring I got inside safely. Truly an incredible human being. He got the fattest tip my college student bank account would allow for, although he deserved much, much more. The other man ruined my sense of security and caused countless anxiety attacks when out in public for months. Although it took a while, I'm doing great now. My fellow thrill seekers, here's a question for you. Have you ever had a creepy encounter that made your hair stand on end? Share your thoughts in the comments below.